Hello there. Barely in office has the British Prime Minister had to face harsh criticism, but now she was rowing back on one point at least. Many had already suspected that things would not go well for long, but the speed at which it goes down is a surprise. The newly crowned Prime Minister Liz Truss had promised the British a new course. To be fair, she should have said that she meant a kamikaze like dive. Participation in these nosedives are the economic outlook, Britain's creditworthiness, and meanwhile, the value of the British pound and the confidence of the British in their government. For the sake of fairness, we don't want to hide the fact that some things are on the up. With the interest on mortgages and the burdens of many British homeowners, for example, that's going up. National debt and the cost of living are also soaring. The horror of the drama of the development is great. They don't all have them anymore. That's something we would say in Germany, but that's no longer a saying about the cabinet that you only hear in the pub in the evening, but also during core working hours in the financial stronghold of the City of London. And the International Monetary Fund put it more eloquently, but it meant the same thing. Yes, all hell is going on in Britain. And by the way, I'm sure you still can hear it. I'm not completely fit again. That's why it's slowly starting again today with a video every day on this channel. The other channels and the normal number of videos will have to wait a little longer, but I have to start somewhere. I lost a lot of money this week already. We are lowering taxes. That's what Miss Truss and her finance minister Kwasi Kwarteng blared out into the world, adding a little more quietly, especially for the rich. While that may be scandalously unfair, it still would not have been enough for the crisis mode. But if you don't say where the money for the tax cut is supposed to come from, then the people will have enough. Of course, the state could save elsewhere, but the ruling Conservative Party is squirming, and that's understandable. Firstly, saving is unpopular with voters who, secondly, are in urgent need of help because of skyrocketing prices, while thirdly, the healthcare system, social services, and the like are waiting for investments and they want to be saved. And fourth, on top of that, the neglected regions away from glittering London are demanding the promised up-leveling, a project with which the governing Conservatives have won their decisive votes there in 2019. And that's why no savings are made for the time being, and whether maybe they are, Truss and Kwarteng prefer not to say exactly. And this week, the pressure on Team Truss has become too great, including from within their own party. Their approval ratings for the what we call in Germany the Sunday question have fallen like a stone since the Prime Minister took office, so the opinion polls. Delegates are demanding accountability at the Conservative Party conference that took place in Birmingham. And actually, it should have been a coronation mass for the new boss. Liz Truss, who likes to present herself as the Iron Lady and Margaret Thatcher's spiritual successor, instead showed her fans that iron can also be bent. The cut in the top tax rate, which the Prime Minister staunchly defended last Sunday, was already cleared on Monday. The change is not due to deeper insight, but only to the effort to calm the minds in Birmingham and the markets in London. Ms. Truss hopes that at least the rest of her economic program will weather the storm. And herself too. She definitely hopes that. It's questionable whether this will succeed because Her Majesty's government has casually postponed the annoying problem of how the national budget should actually be financed until later. And in doing so, has signaled that it is ready to take on so much debt as if there were no tomorrow. The new Prime Minister of Great Britain, as I said, has not been in office for a month and has come under massive criticism. In a recent survey conducted by the opinion research institute Opinion for the Observer, within a week, the approval ratings for Truss among Britons went from -9 to -37, according to the Institute, and those are lower than the value of ex-Prime Minister Boris Johnson shortly before his forced resignation. There he was at -28. Opinion expert James Crouch described the opinion picture as the worst poll result for a Conservative Prime Minister since 2010. Within a few weeks, Truss has as little approval as Johnson or ex-Prime Minister Theresa May at the end of their term, or even worse. And another poll from YouGov found that more than half of Britons want Truss to resign. At the 4-day party conference in Birmingham, Truss had to convince the members of her own party of her plans, because even their resistance was growing. And ex-Minister Michael Gove slammed the Truss government's tax plans on the BBC, which sent shockwaves through Britain's financial markets over the course of the week. And some Tories are reportedly considering voting against the plans in Parliament, including abolishing the top tax rate for top earners. However, Party General Secretary Jake Berry threatened such rebels in the Sky News interview with expulsions from the party. Truss previously acknowledged mistakes in implementing their controversial tax cuts. "I stand by the package that has been announced." That's what she told the BBC on Sunday at the start of the Tory party conference in Birmingham. "But I see that we should have prepared better." Well, her government has a clear plan to deal with the energy crisis and inflation and to restart the economy. That's what she affirmed, but it's what she decides to be a clear plan. Her growth plan presented about a week ago has been criticized by investors and economists because it envisages additional spending in the billions, but hardly any details on how this is to be financed in the short term. And according to experts, the measures could cost the equivalent of almost 230 billion euros for my international viewers. And Chancellor of the Exchequer Kwasi Kwarteng had already spoken again on Saturday, but left details open. In an article for the Telegraph newspaper, he merely confirmed that he would present a credible plan for debt reduction in November. There would also be a commitment to bringing public spending under control. It is clear that the measures announced were not met with approval everywhere. But he had no choice, he says. And most recently, the rating agency S&P followed the skeptical view of other institutions and lowered the outlook for British government debt from stable to negative. The agency Moody's and the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, also have concerns. A worse rating can mean that higher interest rates have to be paid to take on new debt, and which limits the scope for action. It is unclear whether the plans will cause the debt to rise further or whether the measures will pay off on their own, as the government hopes. On the foreign exchange market, the pound fell to its lowest level in 37 years against the dollar last week, and the bond market also went downhill. Ultimately, the British Central Bank intervened to mitigate the upheaval. The project is also controversial in Truss' Conservative Party, as I said, and the main issue there was the planned abolition of the highest income tax rate of 45%. Some Conservatives worried about be seen as the party that cuts taxes on the wealthiest while doing little for the weakest, which would be quite true. Truss said she supports eliminating the top tax rate. However, the decision was made by Kwarteng. Truss left open the question of whether the elimination of some taxes would have to be paid for with cuts in public services. But Britain is suffering from the worst economic crisis in decades and high inflation. Electricity and gas prices for consumers will probably rise by 80% this month, and many companies are on the brink of collapse due to high energy costs. The opposition attributes the currency crash to the new government's budget plans, and they are probably right. The envisaged tax cuts also for the top earners and the higher national debt. And the British Prime Minister was self-confident even after her recent defeat. She wants to go through with her controversial economic project, even without the tax cuts. Despite the recent market turmoil over her financial plans, Liz Truss is determined to continue pursuing her controversial economic plans. "Whenever there are changes, there are ruptures," is what Truss said at the end of her Conservative Party conference in Birmingham. "Not everyone will be in favor, but everyone will benefit from the result: a growing economy and a better future." Yeah, if only. Truss stressed that she has three priorities for the UK economy. That's growth, growth, and growth. Yeah, but her so clear plan doesn't bring this growth, I'm sure. And Truss announced a new era that was blatantly pro-growth. There would be no alternative to this, and she's ready to take the difficult decisions. You can trust her to do what's necessary. We cannot give in to the voices of doom, she said. No, but the one of the experts, for example. Truss' plan to abolish the top tax rate has triggered turbulent violence on the financial markets, and after sharp criticism, the head of government had to make a U-turn. But now she's considered severely injured on the job. Her speech was interrupted by two protesters holding a Greenpeace banner, by the way, that said who voted for it. And Truss ordered security to remove the women from the room. And it was just one hint of what people are thinking about that. Some of Truss' announcements do not correspond with the manifesto of the general election in 2019, and a lot of people in the party are telling her this. But Truss attacked an anti-growth coalition to which she counted opposition parties, militant unions, Brexit deniers, and climate activists. They would run to the BBC and peddle disinformation there, she claimed. They wouldn't have any ideas. We are the only party that has a clear plan to get Britain moving, she says. Yeah, but to be honest, they get Britain moving, but in a very wrong direction. And I hope I was clear enough on today's video, because I'm really not fit yet. But that's your problem when you are self-employed. When you get sick there, a lot of my viewers will know what that means. And in the middle of an inflation and energy crisis, which we do have here in Germany, I never denied that. It's only not on the same level as in the UK. But we still do it and we all feel it. It's really hard to stay on my sofa for a week, because I'm really typical man flu stuff, you know what I mean. But I'm starting slowly now. I hope the videos are still clear enough, but you will only get one today. There will not none at noon or at 6 p.m. I'm really not fit enough to do that. And on the other channels, there won't be any videos yet. But this is my main channel, and I have to get started here again, at least a bit, to do what the British government should do, to limit my losses. And if you like the video, please do me a favor and give it a like. And if I was erratic at some point in the video, please don't tell me. I'm trying my best here at the moment. And now, right after I finish the whole editing and everything stuff about this, I'll go back to my sofa. And I'll see you tomorrow morning. I will be back.